Well, hello and welcome to all of our listening viewers today. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC for Gold Learning. Well, welcome to all of you listening in today. It's great to have you back. I am delighted to tell you that I am sitting down with somebody that many of you, I'm sure, want to learn more about, and that is Dr. Philip Anderson. Now, Dr. Philip Anderson is going to be with us here at Gold Lactation 2020, which is right around the corner, coming up on March 30th. So that's the day you need to mark on your calendar. That's going to be our kickoff day. But I will tell you that Philip is going to be with us here on Monday, the 20th of April. And he is actually going to be here live. Now, you might want to come and mark that on your calendar so that you can come and join us for that day. He will be doing a live Q&A, and he is talking about the much needed, always wanted conversation around medication. That. Now, if you can't come on the live day, you know it's going to be recorded. It's going to be a great event. And of course, you will have the opportunity to ask questions in the forum as part of being a delegate here at Gold Lactation. So quick reminder, you can go to the website right now at goldlactation.com. You can register for the full conference. And of course, we have a free opening keynote for you on March 30th. Well, without any further ado, let's get going with Dr. Philip Anderson. Welcome to Gold Lactation, Philip. It's great to have you here today.
Well, thank you.
And as we were just talking offline, well, I already know this topic is so important. Working as a lactation consultant, being in the field of perinatal health, this is a conversation that seems to come up on a daily basis. It never will ever go dry because, of course, there's always medications at hand. And there's always a need at some point, usually for a breastfeeding parent to need something. So that's why, I think this has kept you in business, Philip, right?
Well, it's kept me busy. Let's put it that way. I haven't gotten rich.
I feel like we're very lucky to have you here. How did you manage to put this into your schedule? So this is awesome. All right. Well, why don't you start off, introduce yourself. Philip, would you let us know where you are in the world? We have an international audience listening in today, and I want them to know exactly where you are and what's your daily life look like right now for work?
Well, I'm in San Diego, California, and I was at the UC San Diego Medical Center for 32 years until I retired. So I am retired now, but I still teach 1 quarter at the UCSD SCAG's School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and I'm right now preparing my class for this spring quarter.
Uh-huh.
But in my spare time, I work on LactMed and I do some writing for breastfeeding medicine.
Excellent. And so that's right. You heard it here, everybody. This is Dr. Philip Anderson, who actually you created it. Like you created LactMed. Is that right, Philip?
Yes, pretty much. We had a group of people who got together and for one meeting and came up with the format and suggested way that it would be presented and so forth. But it was kind of my idea.
Oh, well, I mean, it has been so supportive and so helpful for so many of us who work in the field of lactation and breastfeeding. And I know that I don't know if it's I mean, I feel like it's the number one resource that's recommended. I feel like that's the go-to for so many of us. And there are lots of really good resources out there, which I know you talk about in your presentation as well. But it's very easy to use, I find, and very easy to navigate. So if I'm needing to pass information on, it's very easy to do for clients. Is this something that you took into consideration when you first put it together? How long ago did it actually start, Philip?
It was about probably about 12 years ago when
Hmm.
we first met and talked about putting it together, and then there was a lag period of about a year when I was actually putting it together, and I
Right.
think it went live about 10 and a half or 11 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I know it's I certainly remember that time, and it didn't take long in the field to hear people talking about this resource. And as it's obviously it's grown, you continue to add to it and update it. Does it take a lot of people to do this? I feel like it's such a great resource that there's all these people working constantly. So how does that all happen behind the scenes?
Well, I receive printouts each week from four different databases, and I scan through the articles to
Mhm.
see what might be relevant. And then if things need updating or there's a new drug that comes out, I write it.
You write it. Just you?
Yes. Well, I have another person helping who's working on the not medications, but vitamins and minerals
Oh,
during
okay.
breastfeeding. So
Yes.
we're starting to add that. Those are very difficult because there's a lot of information about
Right. Right.
vitamins in particular. Um, but other than that, I do everything else.
Wow.
And then it gets uploaded to the National Library of Medicine, and they do all the computer things that need to be done.
Updates and things. Yeah, absolutely. Now, and of course, this is a free resource that is available to anybody in the world that has an internet connection, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you've kept it free, you've managed to keep it free, which seems, in a world where there's a lot of consumables and costs for things, but you've managed somehow to keep this resource for free. How did you do that? I mean, because it seems like it's a lot of work, Philip.
Well, I get paid by the National Library of Medicine for putting it, and they give it out for free. Everything that they do is free.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they have
So
many,
there's
many
there's some
databases.
right. So there's some compensation for you along the way, but certainly having it available free for professionals anywhere in the field that work with families is so important. And I think has I think it's moved things forward. I think that's the key thing with LACMED is that it has helped support and move things further along. That we've never been able to do before. So I think the resource itself has just provided that information a lot of the times into the consumer, into the actual, families, and they've been able to take it to their, care providers and showcase some of the things in order to be safe, and also, be able to continue taking medication as well, which has just been so tremendously wonderful, I think, in so many places, which is awesome. So again, a big thank you, to keeping it going, having it available, and making sure that our families can stay safe.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because that's what our goal was from the outset.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, that's wonderful. So what else have you been working on? I know that according to your bio, which I've read through and learned a little bit more about you, it looks like you're still doing a fair amount of writing. What else? I mean, you semi-retired. Are you planning on continuing with these other efforts as well? And is there anything else coming up for you this year in 2020?
Well, I just finished a couple of chapters for books. One was for Kathleen Huggins' book,
Yep,
Nursing Mother's Companion. So she's updating that book now, and I think
fabulous.
it'll be out later this year. And
Excellent.
then the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology has a joint book on breastfeeding, and I have written the last couple, uh-oh, last couple of chapters there
Yeah, absolutely.
in the last two editions. So
Oh,
that's
good.
coming out this year too, I believe.
Excellent. See, they were chiming in with you. They were
Yes.
applauding you. Applauding you. No, that's great to hear because I think that the investment in, obviously from the breastfeeding perspective is really important. Okay, so you got quite a few things going on, still quite busy, very much immersed in the field. Let's take you right back because I promised that I would ask you this question. I want to know how this all happened for you. Why and how did you end up sort of working in this field with medication and breastfeeding?
Well, it was sort of two things that happened simultaneously. I was co-authoring a handbook for mostly for pharmacists that
Hmm.
had a chapter in it on drugs and breastfeeding. And at the same time, I was working at the UCSD Medical Center on the floor where the postpartum area was, and we had a physician there who would come and ask me questions about medications. Ultimately, she started an NGO and called WellStart here in San Diego that
Mhm.
brought in people from around the world, first around the U.S. and then later from all over the world to, for a 1 month course on learning how to be experts in lactation,
Right.
mostly physicians and nurses.
Yeah.
So I lectured in all of those um, over a period of, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Right.
And I don't know, just kind of snowballed. So kept writing things and kept lecturing, and one thing led to another.
And here
So
we are today.
that's right.
Here we are today. So in putting this particular presentation together in terms of medication use during breastfeeding, I mean, I'm sure you realize that this topic is just, getting bigger and bigger as the field expands. And there's always new medications. But I think there's been sort of that shift again, from my perspective anyway, that the consumer, with the use of things like the access to the internet, definitely there's more books on the market, those types of things. I believe that there's been a higher demand most recently that people are starting to recognize and realize that, stopping breastfeeding is not always the best option and or taking a medication could cause harm. So it just seems overall that there's more demand, not just from the professionals, but from the consumer as well. Is that what you have seen as well, Philip?
Well, there seems to be quite a bit of interest in using LactMed. We had over 1 million hits on the website last year, so
Wow.
um, that has been, getting just increasing year by
Sure.
year.
Yeah. That's amazing. And what have you found in working with other, have you, because we've had quite a few speakers at Gold before talking about this topic. Have you had an opportunity to work with international perspective as well? Have you seen the demand going up in other countries and, not just in the United States?
Well, I think a lot of those hits were from outside the U.S.,
Mm,
maybe 20 or 30%, I don't know. But,
sure.
there is another website also in Spain, and my understanding is that they're getting about the same number of hits, and they are more heavily in Europe and in Latin
Sure.
America.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's, it's called elactancia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I've seen that before too. That's very interesting. So overall, I mean, nationwide, worldwide, there seems to be that the demand is changing once again.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's focus a little bit on your website, sorry, on your presentation now, and just chat a little bit about that. So you're going to be again presenting with us very soon at our Gold Lactation Conference. And what should the delegate expect to sort of take away? What are you hoping that they'll get out of this particular presentation?
Well, I hope they understand that most of the time medications aren't a big problem during breastfeeding, but there are certain areas and times when it can be, now, particularly
Hmm.
in newborn infants and with a few selected drugs that can be problematic. But
Sure.
for the most part, it's not using a medication is not a reason to avoid breastfeeding.
Right. Okay, well, that sounds great. Well, thank you. I mean, I think because of the fact that this is always an evolving topic, it's always important to have experts like yourself here. I've had a sneak peek again at the presentation, and I can definitely guarantee that as we were sort of reviewing it today, I was very mindful of the fact that, I have to be on this continuum of study in this area to really understand it. Certainly not a strength for me. And so I have an appreciation, of having you here and definitely learning from you. So I'm going to really look forward to diving into more of this topic with you in the very near future here at our conference. So thank you so much, Dr. Philip Anderson, for being with us here today. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our audience once again listening in. Quick reminder, of course, that Dr. Philip Addison will be here with us for our Gold Lactation Conference. He will be live here on Monday, the 20th of April. And as usual, go to the website. You can check out all the details and the time zone that he is going to be available to you so you can come and listen to him. And of course, if you are not available, always come enjoy the recordings here at Gold Lactation. And of course, the use of our forums as well to ask those questions. Well, thank you again to Dr. Anderson for being with us here today. And of course, to all of you, our listening audience. Bye bye for now, everyone.